Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Well, I am winging it tonight. Winging it because I'm a little miffed. Had a video earlier today about emails and lack of transparency by the government, but I also referenced we'd be talking about spending on private businesses, the government giving your hard-earned dollars, tax dollars, to private individuals, private companies. And this came up with in the newspaper here. Legislative intent was to direct movie grant money. So this is what got me started, and then I went down a rabbit hole. Started bringing to mind all of these many things that that the state is spending your tax dollars on, and consistently giving it to private businesses, taking risks that they would never, legislators and the governor would never take themselves, because it's not their money, right? This drives me nuts. But let's get to um, something that's very important. Pointed out, it's in our Constitution, Article 10, Section 18. I want to point out here that neither the state nor any political subdivision, so that means city, county, etc., right, um, shall loan or give its credit, shall loan or give its credit to or make donations to or in aid of any individual, association, or corporation except for reasonable support of the poor, nor subscribe or become the owner of capital stock in any association or corporation. Okay, this is in our Constitution, our state Constitution. The state does this all the time, routinely. They ignore the Constitution. The legislature does this year after year after year, bill after bill after bill, and Governor Burgum signs every one of them. It says right there, the state cannot give credit, make donations in aid of any individual, association, or corporation except to support the poor. It also can't own any shares. The state in this last session did become an equity holder. That means it owns shares effectively. Making loans that are designed to be forgivable, that is giving money. Okay, that's a donation. This is against the Constitution. But politicians, elected officials, the legislature, and the governor have become so complacent. It's so commonplace that they don't care. They do not care. This is routine. So let's talk about this as one example. And I've got others. We're going to go through them and maybe some other next part 2, part 3. Much bigger numbers. What we're talking about here is a grant for $600,000 to a motion picture company. But this helps illuminate how things are done in the state. So let's take a look again at that headline in the newspaper. Legislative intent was to direct movie grant money. So here's the scoop. $600,000 is going to a private company, an individual in Bismarck. The company is called Canticle Productions. Okay, it's going to make a film. The legislators knew that it was specifically for this company, but you see, it's not supposed to. The money is not supposed to go to a specific company. We're not supposed to say that. So the legislators talk about it behind closed doors. Or sometimes when they mess up, they do say it in committee hearings. Believe it or not, I was aware, because I went through the budget for property tax stuff, went through the budget in detail, and found that there are notes, there are documents which indicate the legislature specifically intended for this money, $600,000, to go to a specific individual. Now, that individual is not named in the bill. So then the legislature comes out and says, oh, it's $600,000 for some company that's going to make a film. We don't know who, right? And so the money goes to the Department of Commerce. The Department of Commerce gets questioned on this. And the reason for the headline here is specifically because this is different than what the Department of Commerce was saying. They previously were saying that, oh, no, this was not intended for anyone. This was a competitive application. Anyone could apply, because like so many state agencies, bureaucrats, and elected officials, they think you are stupid. They think we are too dumb to know what kind of games they're playing. But now, as we see in this headline, I think the Bismarck Tribune informed somebody did some due diligence and they found out the same things that I was aware of, that this has been intended all along. They found those notes that said specifically this is for one individual. Okay, now, again, it's against the Constitution. Clearly, it's a donation to a company. It's not for the needy and the poor. Okay. This came about because Representative Bob Martinson, who's from Bismarck, I like Bob on a personal level. Hate his politics, hate how he plays the game. I think that politicians like him are the problem. Now, that sounds very harsh to somebody that I, on a personal level, like. That's the way the game of politics is, I guess. But Bob is well known. He's been in the legislature for like 600 years. He's well known. He's one of the Bismarck mafia folks. So he knows how to get money to people he wants to get money to. He's on appropriations and has been, I think, for about 175 years. And so Bob put in this $600,000 grant for Canticle Productions. It's a Bismarck player. Bob, I'm told, is tied in really tightly with the governor as well. So, who knows? Somebody gives a little nudge, a little talk in the hallway. Next thing you know, $600,000 is popped onto a budget bill that no one really has any say about or no discussion on it. It goes forward. It goes to this guy. Do you know that the application process to let filmmakers in North Dakota know about this, they found out, this came out on July 21st, I believe, which was a Friday at 4 p.m. Friday, 4 p.m., July 21st. You have until July 31st to get your application in with all of the necessary components that are requisite for a completed application. 10 days. When you take away the weekend, it's a week. You have a week. A week. That's not a competitive application period. This was designed to have the appearance, right? Because they don't respect you. They don't respect me. To have the appearance that they are playing by the rules that they're supposed to play by, but they ignore it. They shrug it off. 10 days. And the application from the person who got the $600,000 and 2 years prior got $100,000. Apparently, that application was so incomplete, it was unbelievable. No budget, no timeline. The money is supposed to go to an entity. That entity was not even filed with the Secretary of State until after the application was made. Can you believe it? This is $600,000 of your tax money. I know, small change, chump change. I know. Okay, so Bob Martinson gets the money to the guy he wants to get, and shakes some hands, and now he's a power player. My question is, why did Governor Burgum not veto this? It's against the Constitution. Burgum signed this bill. Burgum is equally responsible as is the legislature. The legislature is a group of 141 or whatever people, and there's going to be a lot of people that would have recognized this as a bad thing. There are going to be a lot of people that recognize that this is not a very ideal thing, but it's stuck in a huge bill at the end of the session, so they just they just are apparently too lazy or want to get the hell out of there, so they just go ahead and vote for it. But it comes across the governor's desk. The governor makes the choice. Did I mention to you that there's a slightly interesting twist here? There's Governor Burgum with his lieutenant governor and the gentleman from Canticle Productions who in 2018 had The Badlands Girl. It was a movie filmed in North Dakota. So Governor Burgum is there with him at that time, very chummy. And a movie that came after The Badlands Girl? So interesting to me. A Heart Like Water. A Heart Like Water. Mr. Belinsky, who is the producer and the proprietor of the LLC that received this $600,000 after the first $100,000 a year or so ago, after hanging out with Governor Burgum, decided to make a movie based on a book written by Governor Burgum's great grandma. Now, it sounds like she's an amazing woman. I mean, it's a great story. So the producers hanging out with Burgum, within a couple years, makes a movie about or based on Governor Burgum's great grandma's experiences that were written down. And then another year later, gets $100,000, and then 2 years after that, gets $600,000. Is that a coincidence, folks? is that, or is that? I mean, I have to hand it to Mr. Belinsky. That is some good networking. That is making things happen. He put out in the universe, and this is really not against him. I actually admire what he was able to accomplish. I mean, any of these companies that are getting taxpayer dollars, hey, hats off to you, man. Hats off to you. You're probably making a great product. I don't know, but you're doing it in a way that decreases your expenses, decreases your risks, because elected officials are stupid enough and immoral enough, or spineless enough, that they're just going to hand you the taxpayer dollars. They would never give you their own money. They would never put that money at risk for these projects. Again, when we go into parts 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be, there are many examples of failures where you, the taxpayer, lost your money because legislators made a bet that turned out to be a very bad bet. So now we have $600,000 in this episode, which went to a specific individual, which it shouldn't have, which the Department of Commerce, which is under Governor Burgum, lied about or intentionally misrepresented because they think we're stupid, to give money to someone who did a good job networking with the governor. I think that's abhorrent. There's another $200,000 grant. I don't know who is responsible for this one, but it went to a creamery out in the eastern part of the state, a specific named creamery. This is not proper governance, guys. This is why we need to elect good people. This is why we need to get rid of the Bismarck Mafia. This is why we need to get rid of the good old boys club that don't understand in the state legislature that they are there for you and for me to represent our interest, to show the respect that we deserve on how they spend our money, but they're there to play the game. And there's 141 of them. So then it comes to the governor. There's one guy that has the power to veto. This guy, Governor Burgum, is happy to veto bills protecting women's sports from the transgender phenomenon, from the scam of transgenderism. He'll veto that. He'll veto a bill which prohibits statewide mask mandates. He'll veto that. But when the legislature spits in the face of our state constitution to give your tax dollars to private businesses, where is he? He's all about that, baby. There's no veto there. Governor Burgum's friends, they're going to get some cashola, and it's your cashola. So now you're informed. Part 2 coming up. Talk to you later.